Let's go.
All right, joining me now, he's the author of the book Gorilla Parts, former Howard Stern intern, frequent guest of the show, all-around great guy, now living in Vegas, living the dream. Of course, I'm talking about Gorilla himself, Steve Grillo. What's up, Grillo?
Yo, nice to see you, Rich. How's everything going?
Everything's going great, man. Big story yesterday in the New York Post about Howard Stern. Again, whiny little man baby, woke Howard Stern. You have been all over this guy, letting everybody know the real deal about him. What is amazing to me about this story is that he's getting paid $8,000 a minute. He's not doing another show until after Labor Day, and then he's only doing one show. There's all these layoffs. What the hell's going on with this guy, Grillo?
Yeah, he's been making money like that for a long time. The only problem is he doesn't really spend it. Yeah, well, he didn't spend any of the money when I first worked there because he just had his house in Long Island. I can't imagine before he went to Sirius what his net worth was because he did not spend anything. He probably has the first nickel he ever made. And, you know, I never got it because if you think of his salary from NBC, his salary at K-Rock, you know, the U.S. Open Source, Crucified by the FCC, the pay-per-view, the books, the movie, up until all that time, all that money that he made, he really never spent. It wasn't until he got divorced and I think he had all that. Then the Sirius came along. He has more money than his kids could possibly spend. He has generational wealth that will go on for you can't spend that kind of money ever. And he is going down where why not give it out to your loyal staff? The people that have put their life on the line have been so dedicated to you for all these years. Why not give them a nice chunk? I'll never forget George Clooney was on the show, and this is like someone played this for me. I guess George Clooney, when he sold his tequila business, brought all his friends, 20 of his really good friends, out to a hotel in some awesome place. And when they got into their rooms, there was an attaché case full of $1 million. He gave $20 million out to 20 of his closest friends. And he told that story to Howard on the air. And the look of disdain and disgust in Howard's face that he would give $1 million, $20 million away to his friends, really is the tell-all sign of what kind of person he is. He's just not going to give his money away. He's going to keep it, and he's going to screw his loyal staff over at any cost.
So you wrote the book Gorilla Parts. You talked about how he treated you. He treated you like garbage. And the story from the New York Post yesterday basically says that the staff was treated horribly. There's layoffs happening everywhere. His empire's falling apart. He's doing one show after Labor Day, and that's basically it. But he signed a 3-year deal at Sirius. What I don't understand is who the hell's listening to him anymore.
I get asked that question on a daily basis. Like if I meet someone new or something and they ask me, "Oh, you worked at the Howard Stern. Is he still broadcasting?" If I had a dollar every time that someone asked me that, I'd be doing okay right now. Not that I'm not doing okay right now, but I'm just that nobody's watching. But when you sign a 3-year deal, you know what that does? That tells the staff, I have a job for another 3 years. You know? And then all of a sudden you change the deal. Like these people have families, they have rent, they have cars, they got to pay, tuition. And you just pull the rug underneath their feet like that. Especially someone it's not been confirmed. I got to say hearsay, whatever, all that kind of shit. But it looks like Benji Bronk is out, and he basically took my job. He was there since 1998. And for you to get rid of everybody and keep someone like JD and I don't understand what they even possibly do on a daily basis, but so what? Pay them.
So, what is it? Is it just he thinks it's all him and that nobody has made him who he is? And then that's, I'll read the headline from the New York Post. Howard Stern staffers not allowed to speak to radio hosts at parties in the cultish company. People were warned. You couldn't talk to the friggin' guy? What the hell is that about?
I'm at this total conspiracy theory right now, so bear with me. I think that he's afraid that he's so irrelevant, okay, that I think some of these stories are staged. Like this one where you couldn't talk to him at parties. I'm not saying that's not real, but like, I think at this point, he's got one show a day. He's trying to keep his name in the paper. And I think somebody leaked that story because the stories are just getting more pathetic as we go along. You know, it's like, okay, now
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt that something like that happened, but like, wait, we can't talk about who got fired, but now you're talking about you can't talk to them at parties. I think this might be a little like he's kind of smart like that with publicity. Like I think he might be trying to keep his name in the paper so his one day a week show actually might have some relevance, which I doubt it will.
Well, you think about relevance, Grillo, right? And Steve Grillo's with me. He's the author of Gorilla Parts, former Howard Stern intern, wrote the tell-all. He's got his new podcast now. We'll talk about that, too. You think about relevance, right? With all the stuff that's coming out about Fauci and his diaries, during COVID, Howard Stern was the biggest freaking baby, would not leave his house, terrified of everything. And he went all in, right? Calling people, like, if they didn't get the vaccine, they were murderers. I mean, he was the worst.
He was always a germphobe. Like, you know, that's why I was the only one that he allowed to handle his food. He didn't want anybody else touching his food. If I had to literally, I had to go down to the deli and watch the guy make his food. I wasn't allowed to tell the guy that was making his food who the food was for, but they already knew because everybody knew, you know. This poor guy on Madison Avenue.
President?
At the Madison Avenue, this poor because Howard wanted egg whites and tomato with no grease. So the guy is prepping for a very busy midtown deli. So he's got to make like 10 pounds of bacon and 10 pounds of home fries. And he does it at 5:30 in the morning when that's when Howard wants his breakfast. This guy, I became friends when he had to scrape the grease off the grill and make Howard's eggs with no grease, where it would burn everything, and he would make his special little thing. And he was always a germphobe. He didn't want, he didn't like to shake people's hands. I think he kind of got that from Letterman. He's also possibly OCD. He admitted that. So this is just probably the perfect shitstorm for him to deal with when COVID came out, because now all his fears about germs and getting sick from other people came into fruition, and he loves locking himself in the basement. I think that was the downfall of his first marriage. When I was working there, he just went from the show to the dungeon that he called his basement, and he just had everything he needed there and just disconnected from his family and everybody.
So then he goes on to basically turn on his own audience, and he says, I hate you. He talked about Trump supporters and said, I hate you. And really, the very people that were, I mean, you tell us, like the the blue collar people that used to listen to him, who then went and voted for Trump, and Howard just took a giant dump all over those people.
Those people are my family. Like, my family turned me on to Howard Stern when I was, in high school. I had my aunt who was like, I was listening to the Z Morning Zoo. I didn't know what was going on, and my aunt was like, you ever listened to Howard Stern yet? I go, no, I listened to Z100. And she was like, no, you got to listen to him. He's crazy. So in high school, that's when I got turned on. And my family's blue collar. Everybody that, was a part of that show was blue collar. And to turn your back on the policemen, the firemen, and everybody that supported you your whole career, and call them, you hate them because they bought, half 90% of his audience are Trump supporters. There's no doubt about it. Not anymore.
Right.
But once he got into that Hollywood woke system, he became what he wanted to be. I guess his whole life was accepted into this Hollywood thing. And he turned his back on his audience. And I don't know, since your audience is paying your bills, why would you turn on them? I don't know the logic in that.
It's got to be depressing for him in the sense that he has you think about Rogan. Joe Rogan has taken the mantle of being the voice of every man and those kind of like guys that don't have college degrees and work for a living. And he has Trump on, Trump wins. Stern has Kamala Harris on, and Kamala Harris loses. I mean, if that's not the ultimate breakdown of where he stands right now culturally and how irrelevant he is, couldn't even get her elected.
Yeah, I think 1994 Howard would punch 2026 Howard in the face. It would be no doubt if we could we had a time machine and said, Howard, come to 2026. I'm going to show you what happened. Look at you. I think he'd be like, I didn't know I've become such a pathetic loser. I think it might change the course of history, but
Grillo, do you remember when he had when he had Joe Biden on and he was going on to Joe Biden about how you're America's grandpa, you kept us safe during COVID. Do you remember all that? That gushing and fawning over him?
I could almost take just a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watched the Kamala Harris. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm like this, and plus, and he
Nobody
looks like
did.
he's wearing a suit, and the suit like looks like it was a hand-me-down from his older brother. You know, you have all that money, you can't get a nice tailored suit. Like the collar was up around his neck, the tie was too big, it wasn't tied right. You know, like can't you get a good suit if you could interview the fucking president of the United States? I'm sorry, but it was like obviously so orchestrated. It was not. I could have done that interview. You could have done that interview because it was already scripted. You couldn't go out of script, and it was so
Right.
apparent. And like, how could he not ask if like one of the Howard Stern questions? You wonder why? Because Biden would have like fallen off the chair because his head would have exploded because he can't go off a script, and Kamala Harris is just going to sit there and cackle like a hyena. It was pathetic.
I mean, to your point about the questions were all selected. They literally were. I mean, they were all selected in advance. They were all pre-planned. There was nothing spontaneous about that. But I guess the only question I have is, I mean, at one point he was relevant. I remember when he interviewed Christy Todd Whitman, who was running for governor of New Jersey and helped her get elected. I remember how he was absolutely talking about running as a libertarian, running as a Republican at one point. So was he always acting back then, or is this the act now, or was that the act then? Like, I'm just trying to understand how somebody does such a 180, even from being a libertarian to then mandating that everybody has to get a COVID shot.
I was there for the whole Howard Stern for governor thing. He basically got Christy Todd Whitman elected, and he also got Pataki elected. And he got Pataki elected almost because of a slingshot effect, because he was running for governor. And I was privy to a lot of things behind the scenes and shit. I think the running for governor thing was just a goof that started on the air.
Yeah, probably.
And all of a sudden it like became a skit where he was like, now he's playing with it. He's got a little thing and people going, I would vote for you. I would vote for you. And he gave all these great things like nighttime construction and all this logical shit that people were starving for. And people started to respond. And then all of a sudden he said, and it wasn't discussed. I think it was just really organic on the air where he said, let's take it a little further, Now all of a sudden he said, I'm going to run for governor. And the response was ridiculous. And he wound up joining. I didn't want to be a Democrat. He didn't want to be a Republican. And all of a sudden you picked the Libertarian Party because they were just starving for attention and they gave him everything he needed and wanted. So it came to the point where he did a whole thing in Albany where he declared he was running, and it got so real. And then, that people were like, yo, you could really win this. And I think that's when he went, oh, man, okay, how long can I take the joke for? And then when he came, then he had to disclose his finances. That was his way out. So I remember, like, after that, he backed Pataki, and Pataki won it in a landslide. I'll never forget the morning that I picked him up, that Pataki, we didn't know. The paper just came, and I remember going, yo, boss, you got this guy elected. And he just kind of smirked. He knew he did. And he's very powerfully politically he was very powerful politically at one point. And he turned to the dark side, I guess you could say.
How did he treat you, Grillo? Because, I mean, you wrote the book Gorilla Parts. You talked about it. What was your one-on-one interaction with him like? Because I think how you treat people that work for you and are beneath you in life says a lot about how you are as a person. It says a lot about your character.
He, off camera, was very, very nice to me. I had the privilege of picking him up and bringing him down every day. That was one of my responsibilities. I had to make sure I was there before he was to get the phone call from Ronnie, the limo driver, and go down and let him into the building, which thank God I was there, because that one day that guy had a loaded shotgun downstairs. And if I didn't show up that day, we wouldn't be talking right now. And
so you saved Howard Stern's life.
Yeah, I did. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
If Ronnie would have come in that day, it would have been if I didn't come in that day, Ronnie would have pulled up in the front of the radio station. We wouldn't be talking about Howard Stern. The guy had a loaded shotgun with 12 shells sitting on his lap. And I told Ronnie to come back and come around the back entrance. and the guy got out of the car, didn't have the shotgun with him, and then physically tried to attack Howard, and we got him in the building in time. And then when he got arrested, he had a shotgun on his lap. I walked right past him. I didn't realize. I thought he looked weird, but I didn't see a shotgun. But yeah, if I didn't show up that day on time, it would have been a different story. But sorry. So yeah, I wrote the book. He was like kind of like my buddy. I watched an episode of the first E! Show. There's a lot of repeats going on the internet, and I remember like seeing him. I'm like, that was my friend. Like there was like they followed him up to the building. I was like, that was the guy I used to see every morning. But of course, on the air, he's a completely different person. But what he didn't do, he didn't stick up for me when it was time for me to get paid. You know, he could have paid me out of his pocket or went to the radio station and say, yo, pay this kid. I was a producer, and I'd take the intern title. That's fine with me. Okay. But what I was really doing, I was producing one of the major radio stations, the biggest show in radio. And I just was never allowed to say that. And I wasn't allowed to get paid to do it. You know, they wouldn't pay me.
So I should say you're a producer though. I should say former Stern Show producer, not intern. That's my bad.
No, I'm never going to get rid of the intern thing, Rich. It's okay. I'll always be an intern. But you were
producing the show. You just never got the recognition for it though. That's messed up.
What I was doing for 8 years was usually people get paid like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to do what I was doing. You know?
Yeah, back then, certainly. Yeah.
And I don't even think Gary Dell'Abate was getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars at that point. All the money went to the top talent and to Howard and to the radio station, to nobody else.
And it seems like it's still like that today, where you've got all these layoffs, and I mean, people are not getting paid. People are complaining about that. So I mean, he's a cheap bastard. Basically, is how I look at it. He's just very cheap and doesn't value people, which says a lot about him and his character, Grillo.
Yeah, he doesn't value people. Everybody's replaceable. That was always the feeling that you got there. It's like, you know, there's a stack of resumes on the desk. If you got a problem, we got plenty of people that would love to take your job. You know, so that keeps somebody that's making a bare minimum quiet, because you know that somebody could take your job in an instant. It's not a fun way to live. There's no value.
So I guess the question is, when he got behind Kamala Harris, he backed her for president. Trump wins all 7 swing states, the popular vote, the electoral college vote. Most importantly, though, from his perspective, the old Howard Stern audience, the blue-collar guys and gals who work for a living, who bust their ass every day. Kamala Harris wins with college-educated white women, basically. Trump wins. He does better with black voters, wins Latino voters. Crushes it up and down when it comes to people that work. How do you think Howard processed that, knowing how far he had fallen from the cultural relevance ladder in America?
I think he had a hard time processing it. When a narcissist loses, they don't necessarily like to accept defeat, or they refuse to accept defeat. I would hate to be someone around him after all this, because I'm sure every day that he sees Trump in the White House must be a miserable day for him. And I can't imagine the amount of stress, and he's probably watching every minute of every day, watching what he does, waiting for him to fuck up so he can go on the air and say, see what I told you? And the fact that Trump keeps winning and doing all these things he's accomplishing things that weren't accomplished ever. And people can get mad at me I hate having to worry about talking about obvious things like logic and reason, because people are going to get mad at me because I'm supporting a president that's doing something good for the country. It's a very, very thin line that you have to deal with. I have family members that I can't talk about stuff like this because they seriously are deranged, where there's no logic and reason anymore. And it's so scary. I don't mind talking about it because it should be talked about. I shouldn't be afraid to talk about what I believe or what I feel is right. And we're in this world right now where it's scary to talk about what you feel, because if you don't agree with someone else, they're going to take it out on you. And I think Howard is sitting and not liking life at the moment. That's why he probably went down to one day where he could come in and do his shtick and then leave. And because if he stays on too long, he's going to let his emotions come out and his narcissism is going to prevail. And then he's going to dig himself into a deeper hole. because I think it's probably best that he does one show a day because no one wants to hear his bullshit anyway.
Grillo, tell us about your podcast and where people can go to find it.
It's on YouTube. It's Grillo's Aftershock XL, and I'm on Instagram. I'm just this whole internet thing is just making my head explode. But I'm having fun doing it because it's Instagram is Grillo Vader. You got to have all these numbers. You got to connect this site with this site so that you get the more followers.
Right.
I'm just having a good time. I've been interviewing a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. What's kind of sad is I think I probably might have the last interview with Vinny Pastore. He was on my show April 30th.
Oh, wow. Big pussy.
Yeah. Yeah. You see, God rest his soul. He was such a wonderful, fun, awesome person. And I think I might have the last interview that anybody did with him and he came on my show with such a great attitude and fun sense of humor. And he had said that he was sick last summer. He was in the hospital most of the summer, but he was better and he's been on his regimen. And he talked about how he likes to work out in the morning and then smoke his weed. And it was kind of a shock because the last time I spoke to him, he was in such good spirits and he seemed so spry. He complained about his neuropathy a little bit. He said, his diabetes was really bad, and my mom has neuropathy, and I could totally understand and sympathize what he was going through. But that was kind of a shock. I didn't see that coming because, again, the last time I spoke to him, he sounded so great, which sucks.
Well, we'll go back and check it out, buddy. But listen, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it, man. It's good to catch up with you. We'll do it again. Yeah. And look forward to being a guest on your podcast.
Yes, definitely. I can't wait for that. You let me know when we can do that. I would like to say thank you for having me on, and I appreciate it. And anytime, I hope he gave you a little something to play around with, and to get a couple of clips in there.
Always.
But, thank you for having me on. It's much appreciated. You've always been a good friend. Oh, before I go, I just really quick, August 25th in New York at the comedy club, the Grizzly Pear. You remember the comedian Ralphie May?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we're doing. I became friends with his wife Lana Turner, who's also a comedian. She's debuting "Come What May," the documentary she did about her and Ralphie, which is really amazing. I've already seen it. I saw it in Vegas. So she's coming to New York on the 26th to show the documentary "Come What May." So I said, why don't we do a tribute comedy show about Ralphie? So the night before at the Grizzly Pear, I'm hosting. Come What May, a tribute to Ralphie May at the Grizzly Pear at 9:00, which I don't do. I'm not a comedian. I'm funny. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like I can get in front of an audience. Yeah, I'm funny in a lot of ways, but not like a stand-up way. So I'm going to be hosting the show. It's going to be a tribute to Ralphie. Lana's going to take on the show. I got Gino Visconti, Ron Barber, Stacey Pressman. They're all New York gritty comics that all play the circuit there. They're all like some of the great New York stand-up comics. But we don't know who else is going to be on because, he was friends with Jay Moore and Colin Quinn and Jeffrey Ross. I've been in touch with them. So you don't know who's actually going to show up to the show, but it's going to be a fun night. I'm going to be broadcasting there. If you're in New York, either of those days, you're welcome to come to either one or the other, to the screening or to the show. But yeah, we just sort of solidified that last night. And that's definitely going to happen. That would be horrible for me not to promote that. That's awful.
August 25th and 26th. All right, Steve. Thanks, buddy. Steve Grillo. Check him out.
Let's go.